There are few cars as iconic as the DeLorean. Although it was in production for less than 2 years, it remains to be one of the most recognized cars of all time. Immortalized as Doc Brown's time machine from the Back to the Future films, the DeLorean inspires wonder and curiosity among millions of fans around the world. To some, it was so impactful that they simply had to have one. Today on Auto Aficionado, we're going to be taking a look at a piece of automotive history with Michael Borthwick and his 1983 DeLorean.
What we're going to do right here is go back, way back into time.
I just got my picture taken. Occupational hazard.
I guess I got into cars when I was a little kid. I was fortunate enough to be, 6 years old when Hot Wheels came out for the first time, and it was a whole bunch of, colorful, crazy cars with opening doors and opening hoods and all sorts of crazy things like that. Cut to many years later, and I now have a kind of a out-of-the-ordinary car with opening doors and crazy things like that. This car is only 130 horsepower. It's not a fast car, but it does get there. And once it gets there, it is a very, very good cornering car. If you get this car out on a country road or a winding road, it's unbelievable in terms of how it handles. And it's the heritage from Lotus. The cars nowadays have, much more horsepower, but I don't know, I'd kind of take this one, I'd take this one any day. My name is Michael Borthwick, and behind me is the car I drive, which is a 1983 DMC-12 ethical sports car. It's called an ethical sports car because even back in the day, John DeLorean, for all he did not so good, some of the good things he did is he wanted like a renewable car that would last a long time. The main feature about that is the stainless steel panels, which the car doesn't rust. So it lasts a long time. This one's 40 years old almost. The cars were built in Ireland. They were built in Dunmurry, Northern Ireland. John DeLorean started the factory basically from an empty field, and they had a fully functioning car factory in 18 months. He consulted with Porsche, and Porsche told him, oh no, it's going to take 5 to 7 years to do that. There were labor issues, parts issues, financing issues. For a couple times the plant shut down. The last DeLorean rolled off the line Christmas Eve, 1982. This car was September 82, so this is one of the last DeLoreans made. There were 9,200 DeLoreans produced for all over the world, but there were 3 special editions. There were 2 gold-plated cars, which were a prize for American Express. There were 50 cars set for the Middle East, and they went to Kuwait and were distributed from there. Who knows where they ended up now. But there were 88 set out for Canada. We have a group, Official DeLorean Owners Canada, and in that group we've managed to find about 50 of the 88 all over the world. Some are in France, some are in the States, a few like this one are in Canada. One just went back home to Ireland, where the cars were built last year. And so those are among the 45 to 55 that we know where they are, but we are looking for where those other Canadian cars are. It's a kind of a big mystery, the lost Canadians.
The actual story behind the DeLorean and its infamous creator is as wild as the design itself.
John Zachary DeLorean was an automobile engineer, executive, and inventor. He was the youngest division head in General Motors history before starting the DeLorean Motor Company in 1973. Through his career, he managed the development of several historic cars such as the Pontiac GTO, Firebird, and Grand Prix. The DeLorean that we all know began life as a prototype in the mid-1970s, which was then called the DeLorean Safety Vehicle. It was powered by the PRV V6 engine developed by Peugeot, Renault, and Volvo. Production delays meant the DeLorean did not reach consumers until January 1981, and in the meantime, the new car market had tanked due to the U.S. economic recession. When they eventually did get their hands on the car, both critics and the public complained that the price was too high and the horsepower too low compared with other sport coupes on the market. After 1 year, the DeLorean had failed to recoup its $175 million investment costs. More than half of the cars that were produced remained unsold, and the company was in financial trouble. To make matters worse, in October 1982, John DeLorean was charged with drug trafficking after an FBI informant solicited him as a financier in a scheme to sell $24 million worth of cocaine. But DeLorean was able to successfully defend himself under the defense of police entrapment. The trial ended in a not guilty verdict in August 1984, by which time DMC had declared bankruptcy and ended operations. In 1999, the creator of perhaps one of the most famous movie cars of all time declared personal bankruptcy after fighting some 40 legal cases following the collapse of the DeLorean Motor Company. He was forced to sell his 434-acre estate in Bedminster in 2000. It was bought by Donald Trump, who converted it to a golf course.
But it's not just the history of the car that's so bizarre. Check out some of the more peculiar design elements. Almost every car has a blue light that comes on to tell you that your high beams are on, but this one also has a green light to tell you that your low beams are on. And check it out. The horn on the DeLorean is on the turn signal stalk. You press the stalk in to honk it. Not quite the same as smashing your hand into the steering wheel when you're frustrated.
I guess I started looking in about 2003. I knew I wanted to, get a vintage car at some point. It was just something I always wanted to do. And I started going to local car shows. And I was, walking down the aisles of the cars, and it was like, okay, here's a Corvette, there's another Corvette, there's a Mustang, there's a Chevelle. It was just, they're great cars, I love them, but for me it was just kind of repetitive. I was looking for something out of the ordinary. And one of the things that I was looking for was a Lotus, basically because of a movie called The Spy Who Loved Me, and that's where a Lotus flies off a dock and becomes a submarine. Well, that wasn't the movie car that I ended up with. I ended up with a Back to the Future movie car, which is, you can't talk about DeLoreans without mentioning Back to the Future, because that's what everybody does. It's like Herbie the Love Bug. Everybody seems to love this car, wants to look at it, wants to yell, "Back to the Future," or, "Hey Marty," or something like that. It's much easier now to get one, but back in the day, it was a lot of legwork, a lot of hit and miss. It took me 2 years to find one locally. I went to the dealership, actually it was through Auto Trader, and was fortunate enough to pick it up, and the dealer didn't quite know that he had a rare edition of the car. This car has outperformed my RSP by a lot. That's true with a lot of vintage cars, but Ferraris and DeLoreans especially have gone way up, to the point, honestly, if I had to pay what people are paying for them now, I would have seriously given it a second guess. I've never seen such a seller's remorse when someone sells their DeLorean. It's 2 months later, you know, they're coming out to events. Hey, how are you guys doing? Within 2 years, they're trying to find another DeLorean again. They just miss the car so much. It becomes so much a part of who they are because it's so different. For example, the original owner of this car, I'm the second owner. The original owner was 83 when he sold the car. He bought it brand new. After a few months that I had the car, I get a phone call, and it's the original owner, and he wants to come to visit. And he wants to see his old car again. And he's been to the house, I think, 3 times over the last 15 years, each time to see the car again, to tell me more stories about the car. Things in life happen, and you end up having to let things go, but this is one of the things that people get really sad about letting go. I think my favorite thing about the car is there's not too many owners. And the owners have developed such a great sense of community, and we have a group called Official DeLorean Owners Canada. What we do is we have events, we do parades, we do car shows. We're actually quite known for the Toronto St. Patrick's Day Parade because we'll get anywhere upwards of 10 DeLoreans to show up. You know, there's comic conventions, there's 80s and 90s car shows. It's the sense of community, really, that's probably my favorite thing about the car. And we are actively looking for DeLoreans in Canada that may be sitting in a driveway under a cover, in a barn, or people drive it and they just haven't heard about us. We're not, you know, trying to get you to join a club and pay any money. That's not what we're about. We're just interested in finding what's out there, what you might have, and maybe you have one of the rare Canadian edition DeLoreans, the lost Canadians that we're looking for. So if you want to contact us, you can reach me at mike@odoc.ca, ODOC.ca. And yeah, let us know if you know of a DeLorean that's languishing in a barn or under a cover somewhere, and we would love to, you know, talk to the owner and let them know that, you know, maybe you've got a lost treasure there.
For more episodes of Auto Aficionado, make sure to like and subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments. Until next time, stay tuned.